Well, welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Jam-packed show for you as always. Today is National Signing Day, or the early National Signing Day, however it is that you want to put it. We'll have instant reaction to that. A lot of things have happened with the Gamecock program today. I'll tell you what, we got to get into that. And I know that optimism was high the other day when Spencer Rattler and the young tight end from Oklahoma decided, hey, I want to come and be a Gamecock. And, you know, it may still be that way. But what was it, the line from Mary Poppins? A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Well, with that, there are things that have happened today to South Carolina that are going to be a problem for the bowl game. Now, the future may be bright, and they're infusing a lot of talent into the program. I've got to look at the actual recruiting rankings here in front of me, and I went dual laptop today so I could keep up with everything as far as the signing day stuff goes. And South Carolina's got like a top 20 recruiting class as of right now. So they are definitely in the mix as far as the recruiting goes. Now, they also ended up getting, of course, Spencer Rattler, who was a guy that was a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's already projected to be a Heisman Trophy candidate for the upcoming season. Yeah, all of that is in the mix. Okay, so you've got all of that going to it. Then, Brandon's mentioning it online now, Jaishan Barum verbally committed over the weekend to South Carolina, but decided, hey, I want to stay at home. He's going to stay at Maryland. So that impacted the Gamecocks class a little bit, and it dropped them down to, they're currently 24th, which is where they're at right now. And obviously you can't count. I think that the way these rankings need to go is with the transfer portal, you should add the other players back into it, because that's just the way that it should be. South Carolina's class should be higher with the guys that they've got from the transfer portal. They're coming in and adding to this class, so it shouldn't be just the recruits you get from high school. I think it should have that too, to give you a better perspective of the rosters. But we'll see how that works out. But that was kind of the big thing this morning, is that the young man, Jaishan Barum, has flipped to Maryland, and that kind of sent the Gamecocks class on a tumble a little bit. But there were some other interesting things too, in that South Carolina lost a couple of players. Yeah, they lost a couple of players that are going to affect them for the bowl game. And it's not good on that front. The guy that started for them at quarterback the last 3 games of the season led them to wins over Florida and Auburn. That would be Jaishan Barum, has decided to enter the transfer portal. 721 yards and 8 touchdowns in 7 games this season for the Gamecocks. He announced on Twitter he's heading to the transfer portal. And, you know, the writing's kind of been on the wall with this. I mean, I'm sure Jaishan Barum had somebody come to him and tell him, look, you know who's coming, right? In addition to Spencer Rattler, the Gamecocks have a top-rated quarterback that's going to challenge him on that front. And let's be honest, the coaching staff pretty much told you going into the season that you were basically the 3rd-string quarterback. So Jaishan Barum trying to get out while the getting's good. And you know what? I don't blame him. So that's kind of, you kind of probably had to see that coming. But then JJ Ingambare, and I always mispronounce his name. It's a mess. There's that. But he's decided that he's going to enter the NFL draft. And with that, he's not going to play in the bowl game. The Gamecocks were already out without Zakondre White, who was the team's leading rusher, I believe, on the season. So with that, lots of change with that Gamecock program here in the past, 24 hours. You thought that it was going to be, I think we kind of understood that Ingambare was going to go. And maybe we should have seen Jaishan Barum leaving too. But the reality is those were 2 guys that made plays for South Carolina this season. They're not going to be there for the bowl game. So we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Couple of other notes here. I'm going to get to what happened with one of the top prospects in the country and how that has shook the recruiting world. We'll get into that momentarily. Auburn did a good job of recruiting, and it's not somebody that they had to bring in new to the program. They convinced Tank Bigsby to stay with the team. According to several notes from several different folks, he had to be sold on the vision. But he entered the transfer portal and then moved his name right back out of it. So there's that. Auburn keeping Tank Bigsby. These are things that we would catch after all the smoke clears as everyone is watching a lot of these recruiting shows, and this guy's going here and that guy's going there. Hey, retaining some of the guys you've got is a big deal. Absolutely is a big deal. Now, we've also got the I think he's the number 2 prospect overall in the country, defensive back Travis Hunter, who was supposed to be the marquee signing for Florida State. So this young man goes up there today, and I'm going to have the video posted on my blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com to see the way that he led this crowd, going from one way to another, to another, to another. He had like hats out on the thing, and it was like, I think it was Georgia, Florida State, and I can't remember the other one. Okay. But then he basically, I like this one, I don't like that one. And then he threw all those, hey, Mom, throw me that hat. This guy decided, hey, I'm going to Jackson State, and I'm going to go play for Coach Deion Sanders. Completely took the college football world by storm. He had been verbally committed to Florida State for almost 2 years. This guy's been talked about as being, from 247 Sports, Director of Recruiting Steve Wilfong. He says, when you look at the no-brainers in this class, he's the first one that you think of. Recruiting experts have gone so far to say Hunter would also be a 5-star wide receiver if he chose to play on that side of the ball. So this guy decided, hey, I'm not going to go to Florida. I'm not going to go to Florida State. I'm not going to go to Georgia. I'm going to go to Jackson State. Now, what does that mean? Well, that is the highest rated prospect in history to go to an FCS program. How Coach Sanders got him to do that? No clue. I do know this. Deion Sanders is going to get a D1 job at some point. I don't know where it's going to be, but the reality is that there are 2 things that are really hard to do in college football. The first is win. The second is to get talent. Last season, Jackson State went 11-1, beat every FCS team on their schedule. This coming out of it, they had the highest rated recruiting class for last season in program history, probably in FCS history. I have to go and look that up. But then they get this young man to come and play for them. And Deion Sanders has come from a point where I don't know if I ever really took him seriously as being a coach to, wow, what a monumental shock when I read that this morning. So to put you behind the scenes here, I was working on some stuff down the hall, and my boss's boss actually texted me on that and said, did you see what just happened here? Yeah, I did. Amazing with what Coach Deion Sanders has done. And I think that's the highest rated commitment to go to an HBCU ever. So, yeah, all of that in the mix. Now, I want to get you involved with the program. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. We'll take all of your calls here on signing day. I think the Gamecocks are going to end up with a good recruiting class. They're going to infuse a lot of talent into that program. But this bowl game, the way that it's looking, I mean, I guess, and this is just a guess here, that you're going to start Zeb Nolan at quarterback. I mean, looking ahead to the game, it's 2 weeks away. You're going to have to think about that too. And you're also going to have, wow, there's just a lot of questions for that bowl game. So we'll get into that as we roll along in just a little bit here. We'll have some more notes about the South Carolina bowl game. All right, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. With Jaishan Barum deciding to enter the transfer portal, we're going to figure out what happens with South Carolina. It's going to be some interesting stuff. Brock says he thinks South Carolina had a terrible signing day. I'm not knowing if I'm buying that. They're in the top 25, but we'll see how that shakes out. Some other notes as I look at the actual class rankings. Clemson at one point was 9th in the recruiting rankings. They're now 17th. Now that could change a little bit when Trevor Etienne, which he may end up signing with Clemson. We'll see how that goes. 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Hello, Rob. This is Bobby and Casey. How are you?
Hey, Bobby, what's up?
Okay, this is what I got to add to the show today. And we could look at this from a pro football perspective and look at it from a college recruiting standpoint also, since today's early signing day. Matt Zenit reported 2 hours ago Seahawks quarterback coach Austin Davis is now going to be Auburn's new offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Someone put out a list on Twitter. I think I was up pretty late last night following the recruiting of a total of 13 Power 5 quarterbacks that are on the move. Of course, Spencer Rattler was one of them, Bo Nix, Max Johnson, Miles Brennan, formerly LSU. Interesting. Is there a divorce going on between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks? That's why Davis is on the move. Russell Wilson's going to walk away as a free agent. So certain shows have been suggesting that, or possibly him and Russell Wilson could not get along. So I haven't looked up his bio on Wikipedia to see if he has college coaching experience. But he's going down to be the offensive coordinator at Auburn, or going up to be. Question is now, would possibly Max Johnson follow him? Other quarterbacks follow him that are in the portal right now.
Yeah.
You just brought in the beginning of your show about Tank Bigsby. It'd be another piece of his offense, along with a stud quarterback, whether being recruited or transferring in. It's something that is Matt Zenit at M Zenit. That's Zenitz. So I just add that today to the show. It's something to think about. I don't really get into the numbers because these players, you don't know if they'll pan out within 4 years once they sign on.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bobby.
Day.
Appreciate it.
That's what I got to add to the show. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
You.
All right. Always appreciate Bobby joining the program here. Look, that's another thing, too. When you look at top-ranked recruits, a lot of it comes back to this. We don't really know how well these guys are going to how well they're going to do. We could sit here and say, this guy's a 5-star and that guy's a 5-star. And when they get out on the field, they may end up being not much. Not much at all. So, yeah, there's that. I think that in the end, when it comes back down to it, a lot of it depends on player development and what your coaching staff can do with them. But now you've got the issue of the transfer portal. Because in the end, let's look at it from an Oklahoma perspective. What was it, a year ago? We were getting set up for a bowl game with Oklahoma and Florida. Spencer Rattler was the starting quarterback for Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley was their head coach. If you'd have asked the average Oklahoma fan, man, how do you feel about your future? And not that they feel bad about what's going on with Brent Venables, because I think he's going to be a hell of a coach there. But if you would have told them by the end of October, Rattler's going to be on the bench. By the end of November, Lincoln Riley is going to be coaching Southern Cal. No one would have believed you. No one would have believed you. And the reason that I tell you that is because you can change your program in a nanosecond, especially with the transfer portal and the fact that coaches are going to come and go pretty much wherever they want. Clemson fans, a lot of them right now are on the train of they have to trust in what Dabo Swinney is doing by promoting from within for his offensive and defensive coordinator. And you know what? Dabo Swinney has earned that right because he's been there, 13 seasons? He can figure out who he wants to work with, period. Now, the keyboard warriors that are out there, I can't believe that he did this. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But Clemson's going to be a completely different team next year because they've lost two of the big voices from the coaching staff, Brent Venables and, of course, Tony Elliott, both taking Power 5 jobs somewhere else. 803-978-1832. Show Mimo says, I was all about the star ratings. No, I've never been about the star ratings. I've always been about what you do on the field. You could talk about how great the classes look, but in reality, it's how they do on the field. How they do on the field. That's just the way that it is. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon. If you want to talk about signing day, are you shocked by what Travis Hunter did to Florida State? Kind of a big deal there. Yeah, we'll get into that and a lot more today as we roll along. Of course, it is the early signing day. If you want to join us to talk about that, we can go there. I would like to get the opinion of Clemson fans with Dabo Swinney promoting his guys from within. And the transfer portal, which Show Mimo says Dabo came out today saying it's all about the grades today and not liking the transfer portal. Dabo Swinney doesn't like the transfer portal. I think he's made that abundantly clear. Dave Clawson, the head coach at Wake Forest, has called it the trash portal. In my opinion, I think you have to monitor the transfer portal and figure out which way you want to go. If you can get someone that's going to help you out, but I think it's by a case-by-case basis. Just because someone's an outstanding player and they're in the transfer portal, there's a reason that they're there. There's a reason that you're in the transfer portal. Maybe you were outplayed by somebody. Maybe you got a chapped butt because somebody outplayed you. You didn't play up to par. It could be that. It could be personal differences between you and a coach. Sometimes you may not get the complete shake that you want. It could be an injury situation where you get injured, and by the time you come back, the guy that replaced you is taken off, and there's no way you could take that guy out. So there's so many things that are out there when it comes to this transfer portal. And I think you got to go on a case-by-case basis. But the idea that you're not going to take anybody from the transfer portal is silly. Way too much talent in that transfer portal. But I think you have to evaluate who you get. All right, we're taking your calls at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you want to join me here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. It is early signing day. We'll give you a quick look when we come back at where the recruiting rankings are. We'll get into that when we come back here. Still stunned by what Travis Hunter did today, where I'm a Florida State guy until it's time to sign the dotted line, and he is signed with Jackson State to go play for Coach Prime. Insane stuff there, man. Insane stuff. More of the Rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I haven't seen where he flipped a Clemson commit. I don't know. You're talking about the Kanak kid from Kansas? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get into that, Brock, in a moment. We'll get some water. I'll be right back.
you or someone you know with sleep apnea have difficulty with memory, attention, and concentration? It happens to more of us than you think. If you know someone aged 18 to 65, Logan Sleep Consultants has a clinical trial and they want to help you. They are in the local area next to Prisma Health Baptist Hospital. If you have difficulty or know someone who does, call them for more information now. The number is 803-251-3093. The phone consultation is free, and they will see if you qualify for their clinical trial. Life is too short to struggle with the side effects of sleep apnea. Visit logansleep.com today. You may be able to participate in a 10-week clinical trial if you qualify. Take control of treatment for sleep apnea now by calling Logan Sleep Consultants at 803-251-3093 or visit logansleep.com now. Logan Sleep Consultants wants to help Columbia get better sleep tonight. When others put your fries as a hot snack, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget. Guaranteed to be hot and crispy or irreplaceable. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred over 2-to-1 over meat fries. These are fries so hot and crispy, they bear the meat question. Try them today. Only at Wendy's.
I'm sorry. Did someone say he got a 7-figure deal with Adidas? Or is that true with Hunter? I disagree with you, Jeff. Are you serious, Biscuit? Holy crap. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. You know, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this yesterday, but of course, Clemson goes from within to elevate some folks to take over for the offensive and defensive coordinator. And, you know, I kind of have different feelings about this. And what I mean by that is that I look at it from this perspective. What Clemson has done has been outstanding. I mean, it's kind of hard to knock the record of what they've done. Okay. We've talked about that. I mean, if they win this game in a couple of weeks, I think that's 12 straight seasons with, I can't remember, but it's double-digit wins for a long time. They have been winning a lot of football games. Now, there are people that are going to mock what Dabo Swinney did. Hey, promoting guys from within, maybe that's silly. That's how some people see it. I kind of come from this perspective. He gets to hire whoever he wants. It's his program. Now, obviously, if it comes back to him and Clemson goes from being a team that is elite, which is where they are now, one of the 5 best programs in the country, 10 best, however you want to put it, okay? If they go back from that to going down to 8 wins, and they're basically just a little bit, maybe they win the Atlantic and that's about it, then Dabo Swinney's going to be held accountable for that. Now, all of these guys that he's put up, Brandon Streeter and, of course, Coach Goodwin, taking over for defense, the whole co-coordinator role with Coach Hobby, maybe that's going to work. I don't know. We'll have to see. That's what's great about college football. You don't really know until it's out there. So, but on the other front, I kind of like the idea of bringing new folks into the program because the game constantly changes. There's the number 1 recruit in the country today decided to go to Jackson State. That doesn't tell you the game is changing, then I don't know where to go from there. Let's go out to the phones, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rob. This is Hollywood.
How are you, Hollywood?
I'm fine. I think they need to come up with some kind of rule with this transfer portal. It's getting crazy now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like a coach piss you off, I'm going to transfer.
Yeah. Well, and
I mean,
the word commitment is hilarious to me because
yep.
like a young man, the young man that told Coach Beamer on Saturday, hey, I'm coming to South Carolina. 4 days later, I'm not coming there. I'm going to Maryland. The word commitment
Right.
means absolutely nothing to
Nothing.
18-year-old kids right now. It doesn't.
You're right.
So there's that.
And one more thing I got there. I heard Bagan Megan on the radio yesterday, 43 and 18. Now, what that's supposed to mean?
I think that's his locker combination, or it could be the size of the hat that he wears. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm trying to figure that out because I wouldn't be up there talking. I ain't won a championship since 1980.
I try to tell him that, but I don't know
wouldn't
where he's
be
going
talking
with that. Sure, man.
And it won't win one this year.
Hollywood, you're always welcome, sir. You know that.
No doubt. All right.
Have a good day. All right. Back out to the phones. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, this is Scott from Hartselle, man. What's up?
Scott, what's going on, buddy?
What are all these kids that are in the transfer portal going to do when they don't have a team to go to?
Yeah, I think that's in the end, that's the way it's going to look is, wait a minute. I was so well thought of in high school, but now I don't have a place to play. That's why Coach Clausen at Wake Forest, I keep using that term. He calls it the trash portal. And I think that with some young men, it may end up trashing their careers because there's not going to be a spot for them. There really isn't.
Yeah, Dabo was talking about that today, and he's like, there's only 1.7% of these kids are going to make it to the NFL. I mean, they're going to have to get a job doing something else. I mean, do they even think about that now?
Well, and look, I think that at certain positions, okay, now, and by the way, there is an overabundance of oversigning with programs like Alabama and like Georgia, where they'll sign 30 players, and they're basically signing for depth, and that needs to be addressed too. Maybe they should put a cap on how many players you can actually sign. That might be an idea there. I think it's stupid that if I look at the current rankings, let's see here. I'm going to pull them up right now. The top classes, according to the 247 Sports Composite, all have over 20. A couple of them have over 25 players that are committed to the program. Georgia's sitting at 26. Texas is at 26. I mean, in reality, they're setting themselves up for failure, especially with this transfer portal. But I think there needs to be a cap on that. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah. And how long does the early signing period last? The last 3 days?
I think so. I think they haven't. I can't remember when the actual true signing day is. I got to look at that. So we'll. Check that out.
But if a player is going to join the team in January, he doesn't have to sign, right?
I don't
know. Think he does.
I don't have to look that up, man. That's a good question.
Yeah. They're just.
I'd rather get it right than put out something that's wrong. I honestly don't know. Brandon says 3 days until Friday. He's probably right. Brandon's a smart guy.
And he was talking about all these agents that are involved with this NIL, trying to get players to go, thinking they're going to make some money off of them. I mean, it seems like collusion.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't know. I have zero confidence in the NCAA to do anything about it.
I mean, we're waiting on what the deal is with Tennessee. They are a bogus organization, and they should literally be given Coach Saban talks about rat poison. I don't want anyone to die over there, but the organization should take some rat poison and go away because it's just stupid.
Well, Bruce Pearl got fired from Tennessee for lying to the NCAA. He lies again, and he gets a 2-game suspension. That's a joke.
They don't care.
They don't care.
North Carolina was giving away degrees through a drive-through window, and
they didn't lose anything.
Yeah, and they're
they
like,
well,
we're going to sue you. Oh, you're going to sue us? Then nothing for you. Move on.
Well, what they did was they fired for some reason they fired the football coach who hadn't been there, Butch Jones. He hadn't been there, 2 years?
Yeah. What a mess.
And the thing had been going on for like a decade?
Yep, it's a mess.
Yeah. All right, man, thanks.
All right, appreciate it. Have a great day. All right, you're welcome to join us here on The Rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Finishing up what I was saying about Clemson, bringing in new folks is a big deal. Now, you want to bring in folks that you can work with. I get that. But in the end, having new ideas, it just makes sense. Having someone that says, look, we're going to have the same message that you guys have got, but maybe I have a different way of getting there. Maybe I have a different way of relating to players. I think that's outstanding, and that's the way that it should be. But I'm not running a program. I'm taking your calls. Let's take this call. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. It's Biscuit.
Hello, Biscuit. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. What you got for the show
Hey,
today?
listen. Yeah. So, Hollywood likes to point out that, it tells people to stay in their lane when they haven't won a championship in 1980. But he certainly likes to talk a lot when his team lost to that team 34-7 and sitting 6-6 with the worst recruiting class in the SEC.
All of those are valid points. I didn't want to hit him on the nose with it being the holiday season, but you can be the assassin for the show, sir.
Sure. Yeah, he needs to know his lane.
What you're saying is valid, and Florida's recruiting class is in the toilet. They better hope that they can hit the transfer portal, or they're going to fall off the face of the planet.
Yeah, things aren't looking good there right now. I mean, as far as for a quick fix next year, I mean, Billy Napier may be a great coach, and he might turn out to be a great recruiter as well. But in 1 year, I don't. This early signing day to me is so ridiculous. I mean, it's like they couldn't have put it in a worse spot. I don't understand why they decided to do this anyway. February was fine.
Yeah, I like the idea of having it all in February too. I don't get the whole Ernie. I guess it's because they can enroll now and then be there for January and spring practice. I think that's the idea behind it. But I like the idea of let's have it in February, and then those guys can come in and start summer practice, etc. That makes the most sense. But the calendar for college
they're
football
talking about
is
these high school kids.
Yeah,
these high school kids. I mean, they're in finals right now. So they're literally going out and signing and then getting texts and phone calls from major college coaches and trying to focus and finish up their classes and make the best grades they can. And they're being bombarded with this crap. I mean, I don't remember exactly what their decision was to do this. I mean, to let them, I guess, to commit early. I don't know. It actually probably benefits the big schools more, but
right.
I don't see why in the middle of December when there's teams that are deciding on coaches, kids are deciding whether they're going to transfer, whether they're going to go pro, all this other stuff, and you throw this into the mix. It makes absolutely no sense. On another note, I think that kid, the Hunter kid that went to Jackson State. I mean, anybody can go anywhere they want to, and he got a $1.5 million NIL deal or whatever. I'm sure he would have gotten somewhere similar if he had gone somewhere else, probably. Right. But I don't think this is going to.
Hold on just a second. I want to make sure we put it out there for perspective. He is considered by most recruiting services as the number one player in the country and considered the top-rated NFL prospect, like walking onto the field right now from this class. This guy is, I mean, he is a lockdown cornerback that could play wide receiver and be that way too. But anyway, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No, he's totally an athlete, but going to Jackson State with limited resources, with limited TV coverage, whatever. I mean, that, to me, as far as a business decision is concerned, if I'm looking at that, that's not a smart decision. So I like Deion Sanders. I've always liked Deion Sanders from his Braves time to his time with the Falcons, all that stuff. But and he's a great, he's doing a great job there. But man, I don't think that's the best decision for the number one player in the nation to not compete against the top. I just don't. I think you get if statistically speaking, I mean, they're going to keep an eye on him. If statistically speaking, he isn't eye-catching or mind-blowing, he might be forgotten in 3 years. I mean, who knows? I'm not suggesting that will happen to him because he is supposedly a great athlete and all that, but composite, he is number one in the country. But you can get lost going to school like that.
Or he could change the way that people look at it, and ESPN could decide they're going to televise every Jackson State game of this season. That could happen. They've got a slew of networks, and they could put that out there. I mean, it could change that way too. That's probably what Deion Sanders sold to him. You could be the guy that's the pebble in the water that makes ripples, where you can take an HBCU and put them on the front there where it's boom, right in the mix. So maybe that's it too. I don't know.
But being the most popular, what are they, 1AA? I mean, being the most popular 1AA school still never match anything at this level. So I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Georgia Southern, this is years ago, but they won tons of national championships in there, and they got some notoriety and stuff. But it's not going to be nearly the same. They're not going to get nearly the same money or anything like that. He's not going to have nearly the resources. And Deion Sanders, by the way, at some point, probably someone's going to come in there and pluck him, I would imagine.
Yeah, and pluck him from where
Someone's
he's
gonna
at.
take a flyer on him.
You're absolutely right about that. But here's the other thing, too. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because if Deion Sanders leaves, Travis Hunter will hit the transfer portal. Bye.
That's true.
See you later.
That's true. And I'm predicting that he does eventually. I'm predicting that by next year, year and a half, he's gonna be gone.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I'll place a small bet with you that he'll go wherever Coach Sanders goes. If Coach Sanders gets the job at, I don't know, pick school, SEC school here, he may go with him right off the bat.
Maybe. That's possible.
Yep. Could be that way
I see
too.
Deion getting like sort of a mid-level Power 5 job. Someone who's not doing well and can take the risk, is willing to take the risk on a coach.
That level, I would think like Kansas State, a team at that level. Are we on the same path there?
Yeah, something like that. I could see that.
There you go. All right, Biscuit, you're always welcome, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
All right, quick break. We come back. We'll have more for you here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Breathe easier in your home with Zero Res Air Duct Cleaner. It's the only company I trust to get my home insanely clean. Right now, when you mention the station, you can get $50 off your next air duct cleaning plus 50% off filters and purifiers. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
I think all the kids have signed with Clemson except that Kanak. I don't know if he's going to Oklahoma or not. We'll have to see. Courtney may be right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback situation for South Carolina, but let's just put this out there too. I don't think Jaishan Barum was the answer anyway. So, but I'm talking about just for this game. What a mess. There's rumors, Jason, that this kid acts like Deion. So, yeah, there's that.
Festivals, football, great outdoors. Some people say fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time.
That's what he's done, Courtney. You're right. He got a bunch of NFL guys that are, that are his assistant coaches. What's up, Randall? How are you? Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. We've got it's early signing day. You're welcome to call into the program 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Let's look at some of the recruiting rankings right now. We'll start. We'll do the SEC first. Georgia leads the way right now, 26 commits. According to the 247 Sports Composite, that's just what I use. Some people will mock and say Rivals does better or ESPN does better. I've always used 247 Sports. It's just what I'm going to go with. That way we're consistent across the board. Right now, according to the 247 Sports Composite, Georgia is number one with 26 recruits. Alabama's right there on their tail. In their scoring record or their scoring system there, Georgia Tech's in at 309.6. Alabama's at 308.38. Texas A&M is right behind them at 307. Then it kind of drops off. Fourth in the SEC is Kentucky at 233.97. Then it goes down the hill from there with Auburn. Mizzou is at 6, followed by Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and what Biscuit said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, the worst recruiting class, according to 247 Sports Composite, is the Florida Gators. 8 commitments. They are currently behind Vanderbilt. They've got 8 players committed to 24 for Vanderbilt. I never would have thought of that coming into the season, that they were going to be the worst recruiting class in the conference. And this is something that can affect them down the road. In the ACC, we'll look over there quickly. North Carolina with 17 commits is leading the conference at 259 as far as their total points. Florida State is right behind them at 225. Clemson's right there at number 3 at 221. Clemson, I think, eventually will overtake Florida State simply because I think that Trevor Etienne is going to sign with them in January when we get the whole season wrapped up. So there's that. Also, Virginia Tech's right behind them, followed by Boston College, Georgia Tech, NC State, Duke, Pitt, Wake, Louisville, Miami, Syracuse, and Virginia. Finishes in 14th as far as the early signing day stuff goes. Now, of course, all of that can change, and some of it may change. And none of it's really real until they actually put pen to paper, and there may be some guys that are floating out there. And then this morning, of course, we mentioned Travis Hunter. Maybe I'm not saying there's another Travis Hunter out there. I am saying that it's not over yet. When actual signing day comes up in February, there may be some other guys that may move from one program to another. So there's that. It's kind of interesting, too, because if you look at the overall player rankings, number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to the following schools. 1 is Jackson State with Travis Hunter. Number 2, defensive lineman Walter Nolan's going to Texas A&M. Number 3, Luther Burton's going to Mizzou. Number 4 is Travis Shaw, who's going to North Carolina. And then after that, you don't have another player that's going to Alabama, Georgia, insert other team here, until you get to Jeremiah Alexander, who's down at number 8. But it's just interesting to see the top 4 players. Normally, they've got A's or G's next to their name. Quick break. We'll have more when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, Brandon, we mentioned that. Yeah, I was worried he was going to leave, but Butte's a hell of a receiver, so.
Try great tasting Ensure Max protein with 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and nutrients to support immune health. Those who tried Ensure Max protein reported feeling more energy in just 2 weeks. For more
Florida is ranked 76th in the country right now. Oof. Oof. My goodness. Here are some schools that are ahead of Florida currently. East Carolina, Central Michigan, Southern Miss, Syracuse, Miami of Ohio, Coastal, Utah State, Wake, Arkansas State. Wow. I agree, Jason. Brandon wants to know if I think that Klubenik will start next year. I don't know. I think that with the way the offense has gone this season, Uiagalelei is going to have to earn it. Just stop it. Clemson's won 9 games. They're going to win 10 games this year. Get out of here with that nonsense, Jay.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of
I don't think Clemson's down. What is wrong with you? Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. Lots of stuff to get into on early signing day. Feel free to give us a call on the show, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. As we looked at where the recruiting rankings are overall, let's see here. 1, 2, and 3, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, Ohio State is at number 4, followed by Texas. Penn State's at 6, Notre Dame's at 7, North Carolina's at 8, Michigan's at 9, Oklahoma at 10. Kentucky is number 11 currently. Auburn's at 12, Mizzou is at 13, Stanford is at 14, followed by Florida State, Tennessee, Clemson's at 17, Arkansas is at 18, Indiana's at 19, and Michigan State is at 20. Ole Miss checks in at 21. Mississippi State's at 22, LSU at 23, South Carolina at 24, and Oklahoma State is at 25. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Lawton Swan will give you in-depth coverage on Clemson's signing class with his show today. He's on with Clemson Sports Talk. Be sure to check him out. He'll be up with you momentarily. Still shocked by the Travis Hunter situation. Hey, I'm going 2 years. Basically, he's been saying I'm a Florida State guy. And then, boom, I'm transferring to Jackson State. I don't think I ever saw that coming in. I just coming into today, I didn't see that. At noon today, my phone was just beeping like crazy with, how did that happen? How did that happen? I don't know. Brock Online says he hates how Clemson fans act like Cade is about to walk in and have the starting job given to them. Although DJ was bad, let's not forget how terrible the O-line and receivers were. Brock is making an absolutely great point. If DJ Uiagalelei was so terrible, how is it that you can place a bet in Las Vegas for him to win the Heisman Trophy? I think there's going to be a lot of Clemson fans that are going to have to Michael Jackson moonwalk it back if Uiagalelei comes back and plays the way that he played, not this season, but last season. It's not like he forgot how to play quarterback. You can make an argument the offensive line wasn't very good. He also didn't have Travis Etienne. He also didn't have the receivers that they normally would have at Clemson. When you look at the receiving core for Clemson, what do you have? You have a bunch of guys that are big, huge guys that can go down the field and be physical that way. You don't have your normal slot receiver guy. You don't have Amari Rodgers who could help soften the defense up a little bit. You don't have a Hunter Renfrow. That's what this Clemson team has been missing, in my opinion. Biscuit and I agree on this. ETN was a huge loss. Yeah. Especially when you've got two guys that can take short passes in Rodgers on one side and then ETN could be on the other, and they can make big plays like that. And then you've got other guys like a Justin Ross or an EJ Williams that are big, huge guys that can be physical down the field. That's just the way that it is. You don't have the I don't want to say the gadgets, but a couple of sprockets that Clemson's normally have. They just don't have them. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. Dylan wants to know what I think about Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler is a young man that is very, very talented. He's there's talk that he may not be a great teammate, but you know what? I'm not buying all that. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. Who knows? Okay, if he comes here and does his work, physically, he's got the talent to be really, really good. He's got the talent, I believe, that he could possibly be. I think he's the highest rated quarterback to come to South Carolina as far as recruiting rankings, etc. So, yeah, the guy's talented. Let's make sure we put that out there. 803-978-1832. Brandon says South Carolina didn't sign any running backs this year. They must think Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd, and Juju McDowell all will come back next year. Yeah, and by the way, that's having those running backs is a big deal, and giving them the opportunity to, I mean, the South Carolina offense did better, in my opinion, when someone got a bunch of carries instead of let's give 6 carries to this guy, 8 carries to that guy, 7 carries to that guy. Biscuit with another comment. It's a huge upgrade at quarterback for South Carolina. Yeah. I'm not talking about Luke Doty either. Someone was upset with me on Twitter because I said I think that Rattler's just a better quarterback. It's not just Doty hasn't proven himself yet. I give you the 3,000 yards that Spencer Rattler had as a freshman with 28 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. What can you give me from Luke Doty? He hasn't put that kind of performance out on the field. So we'll see how that goes. Another thing, and Jason asked this, will Josh Vann return next season? I don't know. We'll find out. If he does return, then you're going to have an option for someone to throw the ball to with Spencer Rattler. So we'll see. We'll see how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting either way for South Carolina. They're the team with the most intrigue here. But I think with all the players that have opted out, this game with them in North Carolina may leave fans with a sour taste in their mouths. You're going in with your graduate transfer or graduate assistant at quarterback, no Zakondre White, no Ingambare. It's going to change the way you look at things down in South Carolina. So this bowl game may be tough in a couple of weeks, but after that, it's going to be, what are we going to do in spring practice? I think that's how, as a Gamecock fan, you have to look at it. Fishing Football says Rattler will single-handedly boost South Carolina's program. Dylan says Rattler's good, but I also think South Carolina should try to build around him, but they're going to have to. And here's the thing. If he comes in and he falls on his face, guess what? He may transfer somewhere else because that's what the transfer portal does. So there's that. Brock says South Carolina's offense was heavily dependent on the run game. If teams shut it down, South Carolina would fold. Clemson shut the run game down, and South Carolina didn't have a quarterback to score. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. We'll have to see how that works out, because getting some receivers and getting the offensive line at a point where they can block effectively is going to be some of the big things for South Carolina. It seems like they've got their answer at quarterback. Kevin Harris and Marshawn Lloyd and Juju McDowell, that's pretty good at the running back spots. Who's going to catch the ball? We'll see. Who's going to block? We'll see on that. It's like we're doing off-season talk early here on the rundown. I don't have a problem with it. All right, so quick programming note. I will be off next week to celebrate the holiday season. So if you're looking for the show next week, I will not be here. Don't worry. They did not cancel the show. But, hey, we'll be back the week after that to get ready for the bowl games. Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk is next, and he is the czar of Clemson Sports. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
And he'll have his program set up for you today, and he'll take care of you on that front. All your Clemson information, and Gamecock fans love his program too. More of the rundown tomorrow. Thanks for checking us out here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, the BYU situation is really crazy. Like every scholarship player gets like 20 grand or something. I can't remember. That's got to be silly. Yeah, Ingambare did opt out there, Broccoli. So no Ingambare. That's not good. All right, guys. New jackpot show tonight. We're gonna go at 8:30 tonight. So come early. 8:30 for the Rob and Kale show tonight. Enter the bowl pick 'em. Go to robinkale.com. See you later on.